Okay. Okay, everybody, we're just going to get started with some introductions. My name is Julie Brown. I'm the author of the Skills System. We have a fantastic group of people that have worked on translation. So we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves, who we are and what language we're here to represent or work with. Go ahead. How about Haldor? You want to start?
Yes. My name is Haldor Fulisson, and this is our group here. They will introduce themselves. And we are from Iceland, and big Icelandic.
Ég heiti Elva Ösp, en Icelandic. Bjargeirina Íris.
Fantastic. By the way, they all have their skills coach certificates recently this year, which was quite a good thing. Okay, go ahead. Anybody else? Weiss, you want to go next?
Yeah. Well, I don't know exactly why I'm here, but my name is Weiss van den Bosch. I'm from the Netherlands, and about 26 years ago, I implemented DBT in the Netherlands and Belgium, translated all kinds of skills manuals, I think, and have done a lot of research. And I think that Judy and I are just friends for a long time. And that's why I came to translate the skills manual into Dutch. And that's why I'm here, I think.
Oh, that and like helping serve an underserved population that needed it. So yeah. That's always a good thing. Elena, how about you? How about we introduce Eugenia, do you want to just introduce everybody, just go through from part of the Spanish team maybe?
Sure. Yes. So good morning and good afternoon. My name is Eugenia Olavide or Eugenia. I'm okay with any pronunciation. I'm based in Argentina today, and together with Pablo Gagliesi, we founded DBT Latino America, probably around 10 years ago, when Pablo decided to form a group of DBT clinicians in Buenos Aires and then spread DBT in Latin America. So that's when I came on board and to help Pablo. And I'm here today because there's an amazing group of clinicians here from Buenos Aires as well. It just happens to be that we're all not from Buenos Aires, but in Buenos Aires. Although actually I'm not literally in Buenos Aires today, but here you go. And we're here to support Julie's work and spread skill systems in the Spanish-speaking world. So Latin America mainly and Spain. Good. I'm very, very excited to be here. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
That's one thing I forgot, Judy.
Yeah.
I'm part of the transitional board of the International Association for DBT, which is funded. And I think that's important, is that the whole world starts to get connected when it's about spreading DBT and doing it in a adherent way.
Yeah, I saw that, I'm so glad you're doing that. That's fantastic. And thanks for being here, because we need bridges, there's a long history with sort of the powers that be in DBT and the skills system. So I think I really appreciate you being here, and that you did cross over and do that, really looking at the function of the skills system versus some of the semantics. So, but
I would like to thank Eugenia for that, because by her naming Pablo, that brought it back to, and I thought, oh yeah, of course, that's the whole organization. I forgot to mention it.
When they say Spanish speaking too, it's not just like, it's like the whole like different continents and everything. Like they're doing the real deal. So that's great. Maybe the rest of Eugenia's team can just introduce themselves. Maybe Karina, you want to tell us?
Karina.
Hello, my name is Karina Yamamoto. I'm from Buenos Aires. I'm a psychologist. I work with children and adolescents and adults, and I really feel so happy to stay here with my team, and I spent to learn a lot with you, and thank you for this opportunity.
How cute is that? All right, Karina, thank you very much. All right, Eduardo?
Yes. My name is Eduardo Bonapartian. I'm also from Argentina. I'm a psychologist. And I'm joining to the girls with Eliana, Lucia, and Karina. I'm helping her. I will work, that's the idea. I will work with families and joining with her. So I'm doing now the classes of skills, and I'm trying to be in line with this growing this group. Yeah?
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Elena and Lucia,
Yes. Hi, my name is Eliana. I'm a child psychiatrist here in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in a public children's hospital, and I work in a DBT team here with Eduardo, Karina, and Lucia. The idea of translating or trying to translate this model is to apply here with Argentinian population who suffer from intellectual disabilities and autism.
great, thank you.
Thank you all for your time and to be here with us. It's really important for us.
Lucia?
Yeah, and me, Lucia. I'm psychiatrist. I work in a public hospital, and two on Eduardo, Karina, and Eliana in Foro, and I do DBT with adults.
Okay, great, thank you so much. I think one of the teams started.
Maybe if anyone know Mariví of Barcelona, she worked with the team of alcohol DBT, no, addiction DBT. I worked with her in Barcelona with the application addiction DBT.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's a whole nother adaptation that we can talk about next. So no, I'm just kidding, but that's great. That's great. Now, who started this whole thing of those Swedes? So they were some of the first ones. So Alexandra, if you could just introduce yourself, and I want to introduce Pernilla Schultz, who isn't here, but she sent us a little note about what she did, but she was really one of the first people that translated, and it was into Swedish. But Alexandra, can you tell us about you and your team?
Yes, so my name is Alexandra Santillo, and I'm a psychologist in the DBT team in Lund in southern Sweden. For the moment, I'm in Gothenburg. But yeah, Julie was talking about Pernilla Schultz, who's a DBT therapist in my team, and she started the translation. And I mean, we've been working with Julie for a few years now and doing a pilot study with the skill system that we just published, actually. So it's just great to see you all, because I mean, there's a lot of work when it comes to the translation and how to adapt it to your national context. So great to see you all here today.
Nice job. Now we've got, so pretty much, so Weis completed her translation. So has the Swedish folks, and so has the Icelandic folks. We have our Spanish team is mid-process, and I believe that our French folks who haven't been introduced are sort of in the beginning parts of that. So I think that would, so now who are you? Bridget, you want to introduce yourself and and then we can talk to Shaylee and
Natalie. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bridget Fitzpatrick. We're based out of Ottawa in Canada, and we've been working with Julie for a number of years and with the skill system to support adults with intellectual disabilities and behaviors that challenge. Part of our work in Ontario and part of the work that we do is actually in French. So we're looking to work with Julie to translate the skill system into Canadian French. Shaylee, and who's actually, I believe, got your certificate as well, Shay, and Natalie from our team. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see everyone from various places. This is very interesting. So yes, I am part of the clinical team, and I do a lot of work in French. So I've been wanting for the translation to be complete and as accurate as possible as well. So I'm happy to be here to continue working on that.
Yeah, I think Tara did some work before. Do you still have, so Tara, we did have somebody do it before. So that's great that we can work from there. Natalie? Oh, you're muted.
I'm with the Ottawa team also, and I'm working on getting the skill systems translated. So I'm here to learn about how we can do the process.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, obviously, for being here. It's very cool. I think, yeah, I still don't know if I'm doing it right. But anyway, this was sort of your idea. It was like your idea and my idea to do this because you guys wanted to you got into a couple of spots that were sort of challenging, and you wanted to make sure that you were doing things in the best way, most adherent way, and the way that made the most amount of sense. And so it seems that that we might want to start with some of the questions that you have, and that will facilitate this so that we can make sure we address those first. And then I was thinking that I also have Pernilla's notes here so I can contribute for her. And so your specific questions, and then maybe we can just talk about other general sort of tough points that are difficult. Some of the mnemonics and things like that are where the challenges come in. And then I was hoping we could talk about the worked examples and whether the worked examples fit for y'all. And y'all, see, I work with people in Southern United States, so I just said like y'all. So we talk about the worked examples, and those are for adults. And so we can transition to think about worked examples for kids too. So that's another topic. And then the graphics, if something is not resolvable around some of these things, are there times where we need to look at changing the graphics so that they do fit? And then what is the process for making those types of changes so that we're all on board with what the changes are, why they're made, just so that we're accountable to the model, accountable to Guilford, and just making sure we're doing this and in as empirical a way as we possibly can. So I didn't know if it makes sense for the Spanish team to maybe start with some of the key questions that you had now that you're sort of mid-process on this.
Sure. I'm going to leave Eliana to do this, and I just want to be clear my role in this project, because I am not working on the translation. I am more sort of running the whole sort of DBT Latino America, and I believe I'm great at spotting and bringing people together, and I'm more of a project manager in the sense, right. So I can see where things need to happen or connections need to be, taking place, and the advantages that we could, like today being together, what we could gain from being together and knowing each other. So
I will target Eliana then with all of my tough questions.
Yeah, Eliana has all the questions.
Eliana, you're on, kid. All right.
Yes. Thank you.
It's a lot of pressure. Okay. I will try to be clear with my English because it's not the best. So if you don't understand, you just tell me and I will repeat it. Okay. The first question we had or we encountered when we tried to translate some words, it was the concept of safety pickle. Because you have a conception about those words, and we don't have the same here. So we understood that the meaning of that words are that when you find in a complicated situation that you can't, you are trapped and you can't get out of that situation, so you have to do something. For example,
can you say the word again?
Safety pickle.
Yes.
Safety what?
Safety pickle. It's part of safety plan. So let's just so safety pickle is when you can't move or leave, and people with intellectual disabilities get in these safety pickles all the time. They're stuck in a van and someone's flipping out, or they're with a staff that they don't like, their housemates are having difficulty, so there are these times when it would be ideal to move or leave and they really can't. So being American centric, we have this thing called you get in a pickle, which is kind of that idea of being between a rock and a hard place. You're kind of screwed, right? So we can't really call it that, so you're really kind of stuck. I'm just going to read what Pernilla did for Safety Pickle from the Swedish team. I'll just read her note because this has always been an issue, Safety Pickle. So it says, Safety Pickle was another hard one, exclamation point. We didn't have an expression in Swedish. We changed it to a life buoy, like a life raft kind of thing, in the meaning of a safety net, something that I can grab and help me float until I can reach land. And we changed the picture as well. So like a safety raft is what they
it was a life. Yeah, I think it was a life vest. We use a life vest or a life bow, just to make it as clear as possible and just with one word. But it took us a good while to come up with that, and I hope it was okay for you too.
No, I think that makes sense. I mean, what do you guys think? Does that make sense?
I think that it makes sense, but I was thinking about the graphic in your posters of the online course, and I think if you see the image, it's clear the concept. The problem is the translation of the word.
Yeah, so I do like the picture of the guy in the pickle jar. He's good. You know, he's stuck. You know, so we could say something about stuck. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Something like, you know, just like, yeah, stuck might work. Haldor, what do you think from Iceland? How did you deal with this?
Yes, we have a very good expression in Icelandic when you are climbing a mountain and you get to a position where you cannot come up and not go down. So you're stuck there. And this is used both for people and sheep. So yeah, it means stuck.
Yeah, that's good. So you guys hear that? So for people and sheep that get up on the mountain and they can't go up and they can't go down.
All the time in that position, they get stuck in the mountains.
They get stuck in it. What is the word, by the way? Okay, well, that's fantastic. If you've been there, you know, they have a lot of sheep that are climbing on those very big mountains. So it's a good, as far as in French, do you have any ideas about like a Safety Pickle, at least in Canada? Can you stay with Safety Pickle, or is it something that you would need to work around?
I was actually going through what Tara had done. But for us, it would be something like être coincé. So being stuck would be sort of that translation, because I don't know that Safety Pickle in French is also a thing, but
so an idea of stuck.
Yeah, I think that would
thoughts, Eliana, that about what you were thinking about? We've got mountain goats that are getting stuck. We've got safety. I think we're trying to get to the spirit of what, you know, we're trying to get that idea of I'd love to be able to move and can't.
We resolved that. I can tell you how we resolved. I don't know the word in English, but the idea is that to be closed in a jar, enfrascados. No sé cómo se dice, Eugenia, en inglés frasco, pero la idea sería eso.
Is it
Jar.
Jar. Okay, I tell you right. To be closed in a jar, or but in Spanish we translated that. So to have meaning, to have the same meaning with the graphic, the image of your poster.
I think so one of the challenges is that folks can be very concrete. You know, so if they say, I'm not stuck in a jar, you know, they're going to be like, what do you mean? I'm not in a jar. I'm in my group home right now. So I would rather change the picture than to change the essence of it. So let's not, as long as we do it I think what Guilford cares about, and they are very stuck on this, that the graphic looks like the other graphics. Like they just would flip out with me when I came up with things that look different from the look. So as long as we keep the look about the same and we keep the adherent of the concept, I think it would be better. It might be better, you know, to let go of the jar, because the one thing is that we might be, when they watch the e-learning, because you guys are doing the e-learning, so we're not going to change the graphics in the e-learning. So it will show the cool guy in the jar and he'll be stuck. you know, and so that will be a place where they'll get that image when we do the subtitles on that, you know. So I'm curious if you like, you know, maybe you guys can, maybe it isn't we make decisions today, that you can follow up with me with emails, or maybe talk within your team about these ideas. Are there any colloquial kind of concepts that are from your culture? And I know that you're dealing with a huge area. That's the other thing. When we're saying Spanish speaking, we're talking, you know, people in the US that speak Spanish, people in Mexico, people in Central America, people in South America, and people in Spain, you know, so it's going to be hard to find something probably that every culture is going to really understand. So, you know, I don't know whether it would be better to, you know, just use the word like, is it stuck? Or, I mean, too bad screwed isn't available, because that's kind of like what you're like you're really kind of in a tough situation or something like that's another one, is we could go with like tough situation, you know, that's like, you know, hard to navigate, you know. I like the picture of the guy in, I don't know if you guys remember the guy in the mud in Turning the Page. You know, that guy that's stuck with his feet in the concrete, or he's kind of stuck. That's kind of like, it's a little bit like that. So we kind of already have that concept of being stuck. So I think that that's not a bad thing, because then we've got to accept the situation and turn the page. So, you know, that could kind of start that process of being in tough situations. And realistically, one could say a safety pickle could be your thoughts and could be your, you know, emotions and things like that. So, you know, I'm almost wondering if for, you know, for moving ahead, we might want to look at something about being stuck. We could even steal that. We could do a snapshot of that guy stuck in the mud, you know, like do a little screenshot on that and put him in and call it stuck.
Judy.
Might not be the worst idea.
Judy.
That graphic was actually made custom for us. So,
Judy,
yeah,
may I make a comment?
Please.
Because I think it's not only about stuck, it's also being safe at the same time. So you should combine the two. It's not only being stuck, it's being stuck in something that is safe and seems safe, but it keeps you from moving.
What are your thoughts, Wies, about like how in Dutch would you deal with this?
We translated it like being pinned down. With the
I like that. Yeah.
But with a safety pin. So it is safe, but the fact is that you're still pinned down and you can't move.
And some of it matters, I think, on the situation, at least in the disabilities world. I think there are times where they aren't safe. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like they're kind of safe, but they're not. Like, it depends on the level. If it's a low risk situation, it's kind of safe.
But the problem is that it feels safe.
I guess I would say, I think it can feel safe, and I think it doesn't have to feel safe. Like, it could be that it's legitimately someone is in your van getting assaultive. Like, and it doesn't feel safe, but you can't move. Like, you're stuck with an abusive staff. No one knows they're abusive, but they are. And so you can't leave, because you'll get points taken off, or you'll get in trouble. So you're stuck in a house with a staff member who is abusive, and you have no power. So it's almost like a disempowered, like, it can be that you're safe and it doesn't feel safe, and or it can be that you're unsafe and you can't, which we know is like the definition of trauma. You know, it's like, it's not that it's completely like overwhelming. It's just that you can't do anything about it. You know, so it's a little bit of that disempowered too. So it does have a broad, I think we can look at it broadly, which is, you know, maybe trying to get to the essence of it, that the issue is you can't really move, whether it's safe or unsafe, but you're kind of, but maybe the life raft thing is better, like, for what you're saying, because that kind of says safety. Like, instead of worrying about where we were, maybe it's about moving to where we're going. You know what I mean? So maybe it is less about being safe or unsafe, but it's like, okay, how are we going to get safe right now? And this might be a life raft when you're in a bad situation, like, so it doesn't really talk about the situation as much. It's talking about, here's your life raft in a situation that.
In French, we have the expression that we're stuck between the tree and the birch. Right?
The tree and the what?
In the l'écorce, the birch, I guess, what covers the
bark, between the bark.
The bark.
Oh, that's an interesting. So we have sheep on the mountain and the tree and the bark. That's interesting. Yeah, that's good.
And also trees are safety for when you're in the woods, when surviving in the woods and you get lost, you hug a tree. That's from prevention. So for getting lost in the woods.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's part of the safety plan of if you get lost.
Well, that's interesting too, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, the other thing is that this may be a process, and that we've highlighted some really interesting sort of conceptual things, like what we're saying about what Wisa's saying, like, is it, around the dialectic around safety, being safe and unsafe and stuck, and, all that. We've got the cultural images that are real, sound like those really work for, if we've got something that's consolidated for an area. I think the Spanish team is in sort of a unique position, and maybe the French team too, because the French team's work may not just stay in Canada. It may go over to France and other Spanish, Haiti or wherever, where we've got teams that are speaking all over Africa. We've got French is another one of those things where if we get really isolated, I just don't know enough about it to be saying, okay, what is a general, I guess we should try to get to the most sort of general concept that does it. And so maybe it's just an ongoing conversation. And maybe just email me. I hope that this has been helpful around that particular issue, but if we need to, maybe we just take it offline when we get to that next conversation. And the other piece is maybe the resolution I can share. If we want to consider this, we could kind of say, look, we can do like a work group at some point. If anyone cares about being part of kind of an ongoing conversation about it, then we can include you in the process. So that's just something we could think about. Any just sort of last thoughts about safety pickle as we move ahead to the next sort of challenging spot?
Yeah, yes, I was thinking now that Natalie mentioned that expression in French, I was thinking about some kind of expression that we have in Spanish, that it's some like to be between the wall and a sword, but it's, I don't know if it's Argentinian just or and the other countries who speak Spanish. I was thinking that it could be misinterpreted because if you work with, for example, autism people, they are really literal when they understand the language. So it could be a really huge problem.
Well, yeah, a sword is a little intense.
Yes, but we are intense too. Yeah, I don't know. The origin of the word, I don't know.
Passion. Let's not lose that. But that could be like, that could be a little triggering, a little bit challenging, having the whole idea. But I think the idea isn't bad. Like the idea of, and maybe that kind of speaks to what Weiss was saying too, where it's like, it doesn't necessarily have to be life and death. It could be that it's one of those situations that maybe look benign. I mean, those can be really tricky because they seem benign, they seem safe, and they're hijacking you. And then later they're really obviously unclear, and that one's almost easier to deal with in some ways. So that kind of spectrum of things is good, in which, I don't know, I guess I like the idea of, I don't know, I like the mountain idea, I like the bark idea. Those are both kind of like not daggers going into your heart. I like the lifeboat idea. I think that can work. I think so. I guess it's that we want to look at the images. So we'll just have to make sure that the image works. And then from there, I guess we can just kind of take this to the next. But that's good. I think, yeah. Oh, that's really good. Okay. So the other one is seals, I think. Well, go ahead. Eliana, you're in charge of sort of telling us what you guys need. But seals is probably on the list, I would think.
Yes, I have another one first. That is not an acronym. It's just a little mention about relationship care. that it's not the same meaning in Spanish. So the image of relationship to associate with the meaning of the word, it doesn't match.
Yeah. So relationship care has a ship, right?
Yeah.
Now, part of it, I mean, that was kind of a weird thing, right? To come up with that. Julie, how did you do that? That was like a strange thing to choose. Part of it is the idea of about like being in a boat, right? Part of it is kind of like one person in a boat, or two people in a boat, or more people in the boat. We're in the same boat. You know, that idea of kind of being together in a boat. Now, because it's relationship care with self and other, sometimes you're in the boat by yourself, sometimes, you know, so part of me hesitates to get rid of the boat. So the other thing is the icon for relationship care is everywhere. And to me, changing that icon would be difficult, because then when we translate into the e-learning and other things, they're going to be like, what the hell's the boat? You know, there's boats everywhere, you know, so it's almost like, I wonder if we want to keep the boat, but that we, you know, and the other the difficulty is that we've got to make sure that it stays with self and other. It can't just be relationship care with other. We've got to keep relationship care with ourselves. And so whatever it is, we've got to, you know, do that. So I don't know. How did let me just read what Pernilla said, just because, you know, relationship care we just kept and explained, and everyone has been okay with that. It is possible to do some associations to ship, like going on a traveling together or taking care of a relation, to be on a journey, taking care of oneself and also others. So the idea of a journey, like,
But Julie, I could just add to that. I mean, because I mean, we don't have, we just kept it and it worked perfectly, no matter what. I mean, all the patients liked it anyway, even if it didn't match, the image didn't match what we were talking about. But it was so easy to get them to get that kind of talking about being on a journey together, going from one harbor to another harbor and then going back and so on. So that was quite easy anyway.
well, and just thank you. I'm wondering too, because I'm redoing the book. I mean, that's bad for you guys, and we've already done this, so we may have another, although I'm not changing the bulk of them, I'm adding, probably there'll be around 20 to 30 worksheets added to the new book. I'm not changing a lot of the basics, so nothing will have to change other than a few small things, and I'm outlining them very carefully. But one of the things we might want to do is look at the images in the new ones to make sure that I'm broader in the way that we show, like the boat with one person and a boat with two people in it, like, so that we're clear, a little clearer in these tricky, like safety pickle. We can add some imagery in there that sort of captures more of what we're talking about in these issues. We've highlighted things, you know, that are really important there, as well as in relationship care. Weiss, what were your thoughts about relationship care? What did you all do?
My dear, I'm still searching for it in the book, because I have two books. I have the American and the Dutch book, and I don't know what you're talking about. So I'm trying to find it. So maybe give me a number so I can find it.
Okay. So probably just probably the best thing would be to go to page. I've got your book here.
No, your American book.
Yeah, I've got the American book. Hang on. I would say probably if you were to go to page 324 in the American book.
Okay.
Just that's the summary sheet for relationship care.
Yeah. So then what's your question?
So the question is the word relationship care, because the image goes on the word ship.
Yeah.
And because the word ship isn't in the other languages, so it doesn't, sort of the image of a boat doesn't make entire sense outside of English, because your other languages don't say ship in them. That's kind of ship is just kind of a cue word for the idea of what I think the Swedes are talking about, sort of with the idea of being at something to get, like, to being on a journey. So what is the word that you guys use? Did you just do relationship care and keep the boat?
Care. No, care for relationships.
Care
Not
for
relationship
relationships.
care. Yeah.
And people just put up with the fact that it's a boat.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Okay, Haldor, what did you guys do?
Well, we translated it the same way, care for relationship, and our experience that the icon is it's easy for people to connect to whatever icon there is. So we don't talk so much about the relationship, but all right, if many people are familiar with English, so we say relationship is like has a ship in it in English, and we have not had any complaints about this.
Okay.
And we don't have this problematic. Yes, all right, yeah. But we understand why you chose the picture. It's a good picture, but of course the connection in Icelandic is just it's connecting to an icon.
Okay.
And we have not tried to explain or connect ship to relationship in Icelandic, because it's a completely different word.
Yeah, that's what we figured. All right. Any thoughts from the Spanish team about what you want to do or going to do, or do we want Bridget and Shaylee? What did Tara do?
I think she had written Prends-soin de mes relations, which is essentially this care for relationships, relationship care. And for the ship, it was kept the same. And I think just kind of used the whole, being on a ship with ourselves or with others and navigating that.
Yeah, I mean, it might be good. Like, definitely the imagery could be improved, at least in probably won't change the main icon because that gets to be difficult with the e-learning. But in the book, in the handouts, I think I can do a much better job trying to make it clear about one person sort of in the, I think that we can kind of play with that to make it a little bit clearer. Obviously, when I wrote this, I had no idea we would be translating it into anything. So I just was kind of winging it. So, Eliana, do you have any?
Yes, okay. What I wanted to say is that it's not, we don't find a problem with the idea of matching the concept with the image, but we just couldn't translate as you taking a part of the word as an image, matching with the image. But we translated just care for relationships as Icelandic group made, and we find now that I heard the other experience, I find that it couldn't be a problem to explain that we are in a boat or in the same boat and what you say. I think it could function in our language too.
Okay, good. But it's really good though for us to kind of talk about it. It shows the level of thinking that we need to have when we're making an adjustment to these things. So it's really, really good. Okay, next one, Eliana. Yes.
Another little concept that I want to share with you is the concept of cheerleading, because here in Argentina, and I think in Latin America, we don't have that concept. We have it because we watch your American movies, but we don't have the figure here just to use the same term. So we translated as self-encourage or self-cheering up, something like that, but not as cheerleading because we can't associate the concept with the word.
So can you give me the page number again and the term?
On cheerleading? Yeah, so that would be an on-track thinking. And so that would be, let's go, hang on just 1 second. Okay, so maybe 252 the concept of kind of self-encouragement.
So I mean, we don't really have the cheerleading culture either. I mean, not at all. So we just, I mean, we translated that to more to like to support yourself. I mean, I mean, you would have some kind of support in a way, like support for your soccer team, or your support for the Argentinian soccer team. That would be something like that.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have the cheerleading concept, you would have. So we didn't really have that either, but we got it to work anyway with something quite similar.
Yes, the problem using that possibility is that it's too Argentinian. The concept of here we call it hincha of some to be a cheerleader of some hincha, to be cheerleader of some soccer team. So it's difficult because we have the challenge of translating to Spanish, to neutral Spanish, and it's really difficult to us because we have a lot of words that are particularly from Argentina and not from other countries in Spanish. But I understand the concept and could be useful to match with some image if we will to create some adaptation to hear.
Yeah, I mean the even Latin American or the Spanish soccer culture is like, it's the best. It has to work.
Yes.
I mean, I don't hate the idea of encouragement. Like, it's a little boring compared to like cheering on a soccer thing. And if we can get any motivation kind of stirred up about this, saying passion, because, if we could bring the same passion of football that they do, to getting a job or managing their relationships, like if they get that sense of urgency from the idea of, yeah, if I don't cheer, my team's going to lose, and we need to, so I like the idea if we can mobilize some intrinsic, like other, like high intensity, that would be that. That would almost be opposite action. Like that would be almost like a little bit of implicit messaging that we could get to this, to how important this is, because they come into it, usually they come into it like, I suck, this, I'm terrible. They come in with self-loathing. And so if we could do a little bit of this, like, what do you mean I have to cheer myself on like a football team? Are you kidding? I don't do that. So that's like, that might be kind of cool to think about, like giving it a real kind of punch versus encouragement, which is like, blah, blah, blah. Encouragement. Okay. Everyone tells me to encourage myself. I'm a piece of garbage. It's like, it's just almost sounds a little bit.
Yes.
A little boring.
Yes.
But I get it. I mean, support, like, I don't know. I don't hate the idea of cheer too. Cheer, cheer, like the word cheer, like that's where, to be cheerful, to be, so I cheer yourself on. Like, I like the word cheer.
Okay.
Not necessarily cheerleading. I hate the word cheerleading. It was kind of a DBT thing, to be honest with you. I feel like that came more over from Mark. That was like one of the few concepts, one of the few terms that came over from DBT. Like,
all right, we have some problems with cheerleading too, because we don't have that culture, and so we were using the word to encourage oneself. Actually, we have an Icelandic word for the same thing, and it means to sharpen, and that's what. But it's not much used today. So, but it's a good word. But we decided not to use it. We are using the word pep. I don't know where it comes from. It's like a slang, but it goes well in Icelandic. Pep, is it English?
like a pep rally. Pep, like being peppy. I like, that's good. That kind of gets to the spirit of it, like a little pep. They do that before the game. Here we have like a pep rally, and then it gets you fired up for the game. So pep it. I like that goes with the spirit of that. I think the idea of pep yourself up, pep it up, pep it.
But we use that word a lot when we're doing this. We use pep, and that works quite well.
Yeah. Now I am adding, like, I'm going to add this concept called, so we have check it, turn it. I'm adding blast it blast it is going to be when you put like 10 cheerleading statements in a row, like where we go, so blast it is going to be a new thing in the new book. So I don't know if that kind of what that's going to do. We'll have to have another conversation about blast it next time when we get the new ones. But, I think they just need some more practice. You can't just go with one or two little encouraging. We got to pep the heck out of this. We got to pepper it. We got to, kind of go at it with more, get the muscles moving in that direction of what that is, so I like any of those that we talked about. Adding that little bit of zip, like cheer it. I mean, cheer on, cheer. Eliana, any thoughts as we've gone around a few ideas?
Of this word? No, I was thinking about the idea of that we talked before about associating with the encourage that we find here with the social teams, and I think it would function a lot. So yes, because it's interesting because we using that concept, we don't have to change the translation because it's just as self cheering up and just. But when we explain the concept, we can use that association with just like cheering up a social team, and we don't have to make any extra effort to change images or
yeah, I love that. See, yeah. That's great. And that's what's so wonderful about meeting together, to be able to do that. I think when, just on a little aside, when we first met with Halldor and he was to the Icelandic team, he said, Julie, I don't know if you remember this, Halldor, you said, I don't know about all these trains. We don't have trains here in Iceland, so it's like, I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do without a train? We're kind of screwed, So anyway, I thought that was good. You kept the whole train thing, right? And I said, okay, even though they don't have any. I think one group that we don't have here that I didn't reach out to because I kind of lost track, but is the Korean team. And I think that they had trouble with trains too. And I think that they moved it to something about a path. And so I think, I think it's really good for a big change like that. I think it's really important that we would have to really check in and understand the implications of the difference between, things. So anyway, Eugenia, there I go again, trying to put you in charge. Eliana, did we flesh that out enough?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
What's our next challenge?
The next challenge is getting it right. It was really difficult for us to translate it because in Spanish is something like to understanding. When you translate it literally, the meaning of getting it right without a symbolic meaning is understanding. But we know that the ability is not about understanding, but to getting to be effective. So the meaning that we translated is something like this, getting to be effective, consiguiendo ser efectivos in Spanish.
Yeah, well, you bring up a really important point because I think that that's probably the stickiest point in the skills system around using the word.
Can I get a number again, please?
Okay, sorry about that, Lise. We gotta be doing better relationship care with you on this.
If you be present.
Maybe go to 315, 316. So the term right can really be looked at like right and wrong, which is not DBT at all. But the idea of right in the skill system is getting, being effective, right? So, so I think it's clear in the material that it's not get it right, like right, good, right, good, bad, things like that. I'm not opposed to it just being get it. It's, because it's either get it or not get it. It's like get it right, get it wrong. Like you can either get what you need and you get it right, or you screwed up and you get it wrong. Like, so it could just be get it, without the right. We don't need to have the right in there. We can just use the right, because really it's about getting what you need. So so it's just trying to get it.
I think that would actually be better because we translated it, get it right, and we translated it to get it right exactly like that. And sometimes we lose the meaning of get it effective instead. So I think really, I think it's hard that it's named Get It Right. It makes it harder actually, because we actually get stuck with patients if something is right and wrong, what we shouldn't get stuck in. But so that happens. That happens.
You know, it's a really good point. Whether, you know, that ought to be a change. You know, that's
because sometimes I also think that the patients get stuck. It's like, if it's right, then it should be effective. And I mean, even if you do it right, maybe you don't always get what you want anyway. So I think there has been a lot of misunderstanding there, actually.
Well, you know, it's interesting because in my mind, misunderstanding can equal a good conversation, a good dialogue, where it's
absolutely. You could have it as like skills practice just there, absolutely. But
understanding. So that would be a really big shift to kind of actually change the name of a skill. I mean, I think you guys ought to go for it and just use Get It. If you like that, use it. Like whether I change it on this end in the second edition, I've got to meditate on this. That would be a really big change. That would be a big e-learning change. That would be, you know, but I think it reminds me of Turn It. Turn it, like I love Turn It. I never say turn it up. The only reason why I added the up and Turn It was because sometimes people are concrete and they may think that it means turn it down. Like, so I wanted to make sure they have the idea of turn it up. But when I say the words turn it in anything, I don't say turn it up in the e-learning. I just say turn it. So we could just just like with getting it right, we could just say get it. You know, and that goes along with this kind of fast, like check it, turn it, plastic, get it. You know, it's that idea of simple. There are these, you know, simple word and it. So I like get it quite a bit.
Well, I totally agree. And getting it is, will do it for us in Iceland. We translated it directly from English, getting it right, but we don't need to use the right thing. And getting it means being effective. So I'm totally
exactly. And so sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't.
Yes.
And I also think it's a big difference in English and in Swedish. That, I mean, getting it right in Swedish is more like getting it correct. So there is a value that is very clear in a different way than in English, where right isn't that harsh.
Yep.
So I think it's so for us it's easier to work on it with effectiveness instead of right and wrong.
You guys are like making me upset because now I have to really think about getting it right in general, which is just a.
But I think it
I'm gonna have to kill myself. I'm at a level 4. I'm going to a level 5.
But Julie, is that effective?
Yeah, I think in the new edition I can kind of, you know, the other thing we can do is just like with Turn It Up, we can kind of lose the right and kind of in the imagery and in those things kind of move towards get it, maybe keeping right for the whole thing, but that we just focus on the get it. All right, that's good. All right, we have to stop talking about that because I'm getting upset. No, I'm just kidding. I'm in a safety pickle. No, I'm just kidding. Eliana, what other upsetting thing? What's that?
Yes. I will change the translation that you have access and change it for just getting it. Okay. It's interesting because when we read the right word in the getting it right, we first think we want to
you're right.
Stay in the spirit of effectiveness. So we would like to share that spirit of DBT, of original DBT. So that's why we translate it as effective and not as right.
All
just
right.
to be in charge.
I forgot. I totally forgot that it's right word. Like, so we use the word right throughout all the rest of the skill. That's why, I mean, we can't get rid of that. I mean, as far as, so you could just use effective. So the idea of what works, right? So whatever you do for what works, it would be like working mind, working time, working person, working, you know, things that work, like, so it'd be effective. Do people all have a word for effective? Like what? Get it effective. All right, so this is an interesting.
If I may get in.
What's that?
If I may say something.
Yeah.
what we did is we translated it by saying to get what I need and that's the translation of the Dutch word that is just way. That is to get it in a way that creates harmony, something like that. So it was called just, not effective, because you can't always get it, and it's not called good or right because it can feel as if it's not right, but you still are kind.
Yeah.
So that's why we use the word just.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. How about you all in Icelandic? What did you do for like that concept of either just or effective or? You're muted. Unmute, Haldor. I'm gonna unmute it.
We were distracted, I'm sorry. So
Okay, we're just talking about what do you use for the word for effective, like right mind or right time, like right.
All right. We use the same thing, right, yeah. And we use the word right, and it hasn't bothered us, and it works fine for us. But of course, it's like the problem there with what's right and what's wrong. Of course, and that's not the meaning. Actually, is more like it means both the right and the effective. So it works fine for us.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts? This is an interesting sort of dilemma. I think this is a little bit of a dilemma spot. So this is a good place. And I think it needs to be really clearly delineated in the new material. I think it's delineated in there, but it's a little bit of a fine tuning. But I think, it may need a call out, like the difference between doing what works and doing and some of this is in the instruction and some of it's in the teaching and some of it's just in the culture of the skill system and the culture of DBT, the assumptions, it's in everything. And so, like when you look at the A+B=C coaching framework, like it's all kind of egalitarian. It's all about people being equal and doing kind of, moving from their identity to their track of whatever that is. So it starts even with check it, like, check it to your goal, not to some, right or wrong or things like that. So I think, I'm hoping the overall messaging is clear so that it doesn't because skill 8 is getting it right. Well, it all starts in clear picture, on track thinking, on track action. And so by the time you get here, you already know what the assumptions are, but if you just pull getting it right a la carte out and just look at just getting it right, you could say, wow, this is patriarchy or something, or it's, some sort of hierarchy or judgment. And so I think that if we keep it in context and work with it in the teaching, I think it probably can still work. But I think it's a really worthy conversation about all the nuance. There's a lot of nuance in this one. So that's good. Eliana, I don't know if we've helped you, but we've at least.
It's okay. I was thinking about when you told when you say those things before. I was thinking about that here in the Spanish translation of adaptation for adolescents of DBT, there are some names of the skills that use the terms wrong or right or positive or negative emotions, for example. We explain, when we explain the skills, we explain that doesn't mean that we are judging the emotion, but just using it for to relate for some emotions that are pleasant. So you can do the same here. We read the skills, but we know that are not judging the action. That's just the name for explaining this, a more complex concept.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, just on a side note for around that, I generally am using comfortable and uncomfortable around emotion. Like some are comfortable, some are not comfortable, versus kind of positive. And I bristle to positive and negative. To me, it's just really close to being problematic. And I just to me, it's just not seeing the moment as it is clear. Like, it's just, to me, that just makes it doesn't create fluidity through the experience as much as just some things are comfortable, some things are uncomfortable, just like helpful, not helpful, versus when someone says a good choice, or, if they say, oh, that's good, I'll say, no, that's helpful. It's moving, it's connected to the goal. So I kind of like, so maybe that's something for us to be paying attention to, instead of negative and positive about emotion. Maybe it's just the sensation of comfort and the sensation of discomfort. And maybe there's like a neutral neither, then the conversation is, well, that's kind of neither comfortable or uncomfortable. It's kind of in the middle, which maybe the lack of discomfort is comfort. I don't know. But
yes,
it's
as a dimensional concept, not just categorical. You don't have any, it's not about having or not having, but just having a spectrum of different intensities, no? Okay.
Yeah, and just different sensations. I think the new research on emotions is not quite as linear as what people have sort of said in the past. And so the idea, another thing is, like, when we really link those facial expressions to like what an emotion, that happens in the disabilities world a lot. They use these like posters of emojis that are that have emotions, and it's okay. But it's a lot better to be looking at real faces, like on the e-learning, as well as not assuming that someone's face is going to look a certain way when they feel a certain emotion, because, it's not always connected to that. So it's just worth us being very just mindful about those things, and just feel like you can just reach out. If you're not clear, if you notice that there's some kind of polarizing language that you're coming up with, just email me about it. We can kind of reach out, we can solve that, but it's good to do it in the beginning of just like, if we notice any of that right, wrong, good, bad, positive, negative, that might be something that we want to work on, fine tune it to the.
We didn't find any other kind of problem with this thing, but now you're talking, we have a problem just translating the term "turn it up," because in Argentina we do this, but we do the action, but it's not just one word to define to do this or to do this. So we just translate it as change it. It's a similar meaning, and then the other part of the transcript, we didn't have any problem because we use it this that you mentioned before, that not helpful or helpful. So
can it be change it up?
Yeah, yes, we translated something like this, that yes, but there is not just one word for translating turn it up.
I don't have a problem with that. I think that makes sense. I like that quite a lot. This is turn it is just very tangible, because our clients need, they like, okay, it's this, okay, turn it up. Like, we're just being very concrete, for people with disabilities. It's like, okay, I'm here. Okay, I'm going to punch him in the face. Okay, let's turn it up. What would be up, and that idea of seeing that turn, that change it up. That's okay. I think that gets to the spirit of it. Just making sure the direction, because we want to be, clear picture is the acceptance strategy, right? We've got the clear picture. So we just have to make sure that we're teaching, doing a clear picture, and then on track thinking. That's our change strategy. We don't want to just go into it saying, clear picture, this is this, and that this is all change. We have to be careful not to become too change oriented, because part of it is, it's got to be clear picture. This is how it is. Then I go into on track thinking and I decide, is it helpful or not helpful? This is where the change starts happening. Okay, it's not helpful. More change. Okay, I'll change it up. But we just want to be careful that they don't sort of see this as primary. This is secondary. The change it up is second to clear picture, which is first. We need to do the acceptance first and then the change. So as long as we're clear, that's what all the teaching is about, though. So it should, there's definitely pressure in the disabilities world in particular to focus too much on change. It's just like, just change. Everyone's petrified of acceptance. bad things are going to happen if we accept things as they are, so it's pretty problematic because systems become change obsessed and they don't allow validation and self-validation and acceptance of the moment as it is. So they just can't tolerate it. And so we have to make sure that we don't collude with that in any way.
Okay.
That we build in that acceptance piece.
Perfect.
But
Perfect.
I like change it up. That's good. I know it's an extra word. I know we want to be very parsimonious, very lean on words. And if you look at the Icelandic, nothing looks lean about it. To be honest, every word is this long, no, it's true. I don't know how whatever. It's just crazy long. So, the more we can keep it lean, we don't want any extraneous cognitive load. So that's why it's like change it or change it up. Even the word up, is it really necessary? And I'm wondering if we can kind of decide and even if it's change it up in the book and we just call it change it, like with turn it up and we just refer to it as turn it, get it right. We just do get it, so I think, we can do that trimming as we need to lower the cognitive load.
Yes. Now you tell us that aspect. We try to take it into account the number of words that we translated and comparing with the original transcript. We try to use the same concept of maintaining the amount of words and not just adding a lot of words that we have in Spanish. So I think we try at least, but I don't know if we reach it.
Yeah.
We have two doubts about the acronyms, but I think it's a problem that we can't resolve just here because I think it's about just the words the letters we choose when you construct we construct the acronyms. But I have another basic doubt that we would like to hear how you resolve it. That is the difference between emotion and feeling, because in Spanish it's not the same. And we just translate it as emotion because we consider that it would be really difficult for our population to understand or to not understand the concept, the difference between feeling and emotion. So
that's great. That's great. I mean, it's a great point. I very consciously use the word feeling only, partially because we're dealing with people with disabilities and people with autism, and people are dealing with a lot of sensations that don't necessarily, that are not just emotion. And those sensations definitely affect their emotional, cognitive, behavioral relationship and self level of regulation. Mm-hmm. And so if we could have called the feelings rating scale, the emotional, cognitive, behavioral relationship and self scale or regulation scale, I would have called it that, because really it's an aggregate. It's a totality of the experience. And honestly, it's as much about the cognitive regulation as the emotion regulation. So it is a complicated concept, that the idea is it's not really the amount of emotion you've got. Sometimes it's just your ability to think in the moment and act and behave in the moment. And so the idea of feeling was a little more general, so that it wasn't just emotion, because you can be hungry, you can be tired, you can be, this other sensory body things, like people with severe mental illness and autism, they have these kind of really intense body things going on, so that are not necessarily emotion. So I kind of did it on purpose to take some of the power out of emotion, even though this is an emotion regulation tool. I wanted to take the power, because people are very emotion focused. They are just emotion. Some therapists, all they want to do is talk about emotion. And it's one piece of the 6 clear picture do's, so I want them moving from noticing the emotion over to, the body, this, so they get that 360-degree view. And so that's one reason why I'm a little cautious. I almost like the word sensation, so it's just something to think about. I mean, if we have to, I know that I think we did do it as emotion in the translation, in our Spanish translation that we did. It's probably not terrible to do that. And we also have body check in there. So body check can help with those other sensations.
Yes.
And so it's interesting because I think that we do feelings rating, we do clear picture, but then there are other times we just do the feelings rating. We're just saying, where are you at? Where are you at? Like with the level. And so labeling the emotion can sometimes be like a little less.
I understand the concept that you mentioned, but I think in Argentina could be a kind of difficult to explain to our population. We translate the feeling rating as a scale of intensity of the level of emotion.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to have to do. And just so that they understand, though, when we're doing that, and if we look at, say, the on-track action plan, where we're looking at balance, balance of your body, balance of your mind, balance of your relationship, like all that balance stuff, that comes together, I think, around trying to understand that concept of our biology gets variable, we get more vulnerable. The other things besides just feelings, that feelings words are not the only sort of dysregulating factor. There are other things that kind of dysregulate us. And so I think we're covered in the other areas to kind of get the idea across that it's not all about emotion. So I think it's fine. I personally think it's fine.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Any other thoughts to anyone? Does anyone else? I don't want to say that was a dictatorial, like, yeah, that's what I think, but did people agree with that shifting it to as needed to emotion? Is that what other teams have done?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was good. Well, you were coming up with all new ones as we're talking, so this is good. Did we want to talk?
I think I think it was quite easy for the patient to get that. I mean, the emotional rating scale, and that it's not just emotions; it's so much more.
Yeah.
I think it was more a challenge when it comes to therapists, because they're quite emotion focused. To get the therapist to get that there's other things than just emotions. So I think the patients were no problems.
Yeah.
But I guess when you have DBT therapists, they're more used to also ask about physical sensations and include them in feelings.
Yeah.
And otherwise you have to train them to do that, because otherwise you can't work with people who have autism.
Yeah.
So it is broadening. So and I guess, I don't know about you, Alexandra, but I think that working with cognitive oriented therapists is a problem in itself, because they focus on emotions on a cognitive basis instead of feeling. What do you
and they're intellectual and they like that, and you have to get that. I mean, when you have the emotional rating scale and I mean between 0 and 5, and you could get your hunger and tired and everything in that. I mean, so yeah, absolutely.
So gladly with our population, there are not so many cognitive therapists who want to work with them.
Sadly,
it's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's really true. Yeah. So maybe there needs to be in the new book. Maybe I need to make a worksheet that's kind of fleshes this out a little bit about just seeing the whole piece. Might be fun to kind of have almost like that on track action, with the circles where it's like, the things you balance in your life, maybe we do something where we can talk about, emotions and different sensations and things like that for people. That might be worth adding something while we're adding. If anyone has anything to add, like if you have any worksheets that you've said to yourself, wow, we really need this, make sure you just email me about it. If you see there's something missing, I know Pernilla, wanted to really, And there are going to be some additions into like a relationship care so that it's more of a like getting into more of who I am. More, I assume this was going to be used in DBT where they would have pre-treatment and they would talk about their goals and values in pre-treatment and then just jump into this. So if you're just doing skill system and you're not doing it in DBT, there's no pre-treatment, you know? And so you're jumping into skills without knowing what anyone's goals are. So when you go in to check it, okay, does that align with your goals or not? We haven't taken any time to really develop goals. And so the new book is going to have a section on relationship care with myself, several new handouts that are it's going to take time with the therapist to develop the person's goals and relationship with themselves and just more sort of foundation. So it's interesting that pre-treatment is going to be starting with relationship care, which is right at the end. So it'll be a little bit different, but I think that will be helpful. Can we just talk about seals before we take off? I just don't know what people did with seals. So seals are the right words.
We have to rearrange it.
What's that?
We have to rearrange it because the acronym doesn't fit.
At all. I'm sure it doesn't at all. So how did, so Weiss, go ahead. What did you guys do? Did you just forget the acronym or how did you deal with it?
We changed the acronym and made it into buddy. So because that was adaptable in Dutch.
Oh, that's very cute. Okay. So what was the, okay, that's great. I know if you showed it to me, I wouldn't be able to read it. So I've got it here somewhere, but so you just changed it to get the essence of.
Yeah. So to get essence, find a word that patients would understand. And they understand buddy.
I was going to say booty is good too, because booty means getting stuff. So if we could do booty, that would be awesome, but that's it'd be hard to match up booty. Haldor, what did you guys do?
Yeah, we changed the acronym too, and because we couldn't use the word seals, so we rearranged and found a new acronym that means something like, the acronym means something like it's all done, and we are all done, something like that. When you are compromising or doing something, it ends with that. All right, now it's done. So and like Shield and D, that means the same thing, but we could use a part of that word as an acronym for the four.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like for the most part, we have to get rid of seals, capture the spirit with words that maybe, I mean, ideally, a word that makes sense, like buddy kind of makes sense or whatever. And Haldor's word sounds like it makes sense. So if we can, I think it is important that I think it's probably more important to have the words themselves, like the sugar, like, and explain the ask, that the functions of those, like what we're wanting them to do is more important than the mnemonic, than the acronym. The acronym can be anything, like it could be the word silly. I think seal didn't mean
we had to change it. I mean, we had to change it. We really tried to keep it, and we really tried to do another acronym, and we didn't manage, and we tried on the patients, and it didn't work. So now we have this kind of random word, and we also had to change because we couldn't say sugar, because if we say sugar and translate that, it sounds like you're supposed to be a sleazeball.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's like, so it doesn't work at all. But now we have this random word, but the words are right and it works, even if it's not.
You're making my point, Alexandra. So it's like that. I think that's more important than. But if we can get buddy out of it and it makes sense and it's all, then all the better. And Haldor, it sounds like you guys were able to do that. So I don't know, Eliana, what are your thoughts about seals? Like,
I tried a lot to make it match with the concept, with the idea, but I couldn't. So I would like to share with you the translation that Olmo made. That it's interesting because it doesn't share the same concept, but the idea could be possible to match it. That is acceptance, that in English it could be acceptance. So it's not the same, but it sounds better than the words that we could find that are not related in any part with the meaning of seals.
I'm a little bit unclear about like acceptance. Like, so as far as like sugar goes, like just being polite, respectful, you know, some kind of like come into it with a, you know, friendly attitude, whatever. Like how did Olmo look at that?
Acceptance, the first word is sugar, that in Spanish is azúcar.
Mm-hmm. Was that so okay?
Were you guys same word?
Okay. And then explain, what word for explain?
Let me see. He made let me see, because I have it here, but I don't remember really well, because
I should have put this up. I have his translation.
No, there are two words, the two letters that are not related with the words, the original words, that are the C and the T of acceptance. The A is the meaning of sugar. The E is explain. The C is let me see, ask, I mean, and the P is the P is pide, we ask. The T doesn't exist in the word, it's just added. The E is here, that is escucha in Spanish, and the S is seal the deal, sellar el trato in Spanish.
Okay, Shaylee, I just want you to know that your stuff is coming through in French. So I want to read it. Anybody putting in the chat, it's coming through in your native language. So I thought it meant that you guys were like, I couldn't read it. So if.
No, that's okay. We're just exchanging. We're sort of brainstorming on the side.
Okay, as you guys understand what you're talking about, that's fine. It's like we have no idea. I think Eliana, you know, the other thing is that once we get this done, we can change it if we need to. Like if you can, you know, I'd get the closest you can on the concepts. I think Alexandra was right that if we can't get the word, like if you don't have buddy or something like Haldor did, then don't worry about it. Get it right to the concept. And then we'll figure out a way over time, you know, maybe we can over time find a word that's going to work. But I wouldn't worry too much about the mnemonic. It's not, this thing is not really built on mnemonics. It's not, I don't know. It's actually kind of high cognitive load, you know, to be having to remember a word and then more words. In the United States, there's a word called Kuzenpegger. Kuzenpegger takes the first letter of every skill. So if you want to remember all the skills, the word is Kuzenpegger. So that is not very helpful. You know, that's not really going to help anyone. It's kind of silly and you can laugh about it if you have to remember things. But, you know, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. I'd just do the best you can on it, but stay to the concept. Mm-hmm. Just like maybe just like one word, like azúcar, explain, ask, you know, like just keep it like short, like listen. Seal is another difficult one. You know, seal with the seal. I mean, that's a little dumb. It doesn't have, a seal doesn't have anything to do with sealing the deal. And so.
Okay.
All right, well, we probably have to finish up. I really appreciate everybody's time. We went way over. I know you guys are all so busy, and so I so appreciate the time that you took today. Before we finish up, does anybody have any thoughts or comments or anything you want to add to any, in particular, any concerns?
Yeah, I would like to say our biggest difficulty was not with the skill system words, but with the DBT words like validation that didn't have any usable translation into Icelandic, and for example, like wise mind, and that has been our biggest difficulty. But the skills, I think we were. That was, yeah, I think we did quite a good job on that. So I just wanted to point that out. We actually had to make a new Icelandic word for validation. And I'm trying to convince the DBT people here in Icelandic to use it. They are using the English word or the Latin word.
Well, it sounds like an important word to have in the language, Haldor. I don't know what it says if you don't have that word. So I think it's good that you make up a new word. It's got to start somewhere. So that's good. And if anything, if you need any help with that, because that is relevant for course 2, and the course 2 and the e-learning is all the skills coaching strategies. And so if we, as you went and translated, because if you go to the e-learning, you can see the Icelandic subtitles. And so on the e-learning, and so we can bring together the handouts and the e-learning more when we can do the subtitles. And I know that the Spanish team is working on that too. They're actually doing the subtitles, I think, before they're doing the handouts in some ways, because they're waiting for the second book to come out so we don't have to recreate the wheel. But I'm not sure if that's exactly accurate, but I think that's what we're doing. Any other last sort of thoughts? Haldor, did you have something else?
Yes. If people are working on subtitles in other languages, because we've gone through that and done it, and but it was, yeah, I had some recommendations that try to do it, cooperate with someone who understands your language, because it took a lot of time for us and energy we cooperated with this very nice persons in Florida, and they were very helpful, but it took a lot of time because they did not understand Icelandic, and we had to do much more work because of that. And it would have been easier, to do it here and use the program and the technology, do it here instead of
all right, that's good advice. So let's you and I talk offline about that too, about the particulars of like how we would do it. We could figure that out so we can give people sort of a step-by-step of what the process is, about if you're interested in doing that, because it's basically the transcripts are there, so it's just a matter of getting that figured out.
Mm-hmm.
Any other last thoughts or comments?
No.
I super appreciate it, you guys. This is really, really cool. I kind of want to see you all again. Like, I just don't want to like give up, but and not see you again. So if maybe we can do it again when we get the new book or something, that'll be my reward. My reward will be to contact you and to see if we want to talk about the new book and what we will do about it. So, well, anyway, thanks a million.
Thank you.
Be
Thanks
well,
a lot.
everyone.
Yeah, thank you too.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.